including Trevor Lawrence, Baker Mayfield, etc. So again, it wasn't a clean football game. But if you want to talk about entertainment value, there was a bunch of points scored in the second half, relatively speaking, and we had a lead change, like back and forth, and then a play at the goal line, which was like
that
right
was
there,
exciting.
almost the touchdown. So I thought it was, I don't want to say like the best game of the year, but relatively speaking, I thought it was okay. Like I was relatively entertained in the second half last night. So again, not the cleanest football game, but from an entertainment standpoint, I think it at least wet our whistle as we now head into the weekend.
Yeah, I would say that it's a little bit better than last week, but not by much,
I agree.
to be honest
It
with
was
you.
better
At least
than
we
last
had a little bit of offense.
It was.
The end of that fourth quarter was decent, to say the least. It was exciting on that last drive that the Bears had. But to be honest with you, I just feel really bad for Justin Fields at this point. He truly does not have a number one receiver that he's throwing to.
Agreed.
You looked at some of those plays when the analysts are breaking them down post-game in the post-game show, and it's like truly nobody was open. He's scrambling for his life because he doesn't have a single guy open. So even though his throws were inaccurate, they were inaccurate because he didn't necessarily have guys running the right routes. And if they were running the right routes, they couldn't create any separation from the secondary. And so it's like, what are we doing here? So it makes Justin Fields look bad. But at the same time, he could have been a little bit more accurate with a few of those touchdown passes, etc. He missed a couple wide open guys too.
He had one really nice throw in the back of the end zone. He had one really nice throw to Mooney in the back of the end zone. And the play calling didn't do him any favors. Like 4th and goal at the 1. Totally. Why isn't David Montgomery in the game? Why is your third down back Khalil Herbert in? Pounding it into the line of scrimmage. So like, again, like that's stuff that he doesn't control. And Matt Eberflus, shout out Clev TA, the rookie head coach struggles on Thursday night continue. Now 8-20 against the spread. He gave us that nugget to chew on this week. And it turned out, I think, to be a little bit of an edge because Eberflus really didn't have the right play calls in the right spot and, a little disjointed there in the fourth quarter.
Hopefully we get a little better action in week 7 Thursday night football, but we do have a lot of really good games.
7, Thursday night.
Week 7. Yeah. We do have
Thursday
a lot of really
football,
good games this weekend, including the Bills taking on the Chiefs. And we're going to get into that a little bit later. We'll be talking about it all weekend. It's the game that everyone's been waiting for all regular season. But let's transition from week 6 of NFL to Major League Baseball postseason action. Yesterday, you gave out your play of the day. It was the New York Yankees money line. That game was postponed thanks to Mother Nature doing what she does best and just being unpredictable. That game was rained out. It will be played today at 1 p.m. We'll get into that in a second. But let's talk last night about the game that we did see, Houston taking on the Mariners. And wow, if you are a Astros fan, thank God that you have Yordan Alvarez because this guy absolutely struck again. He had a walk-off home run in game 1. He went yard in game 2. But Castillo did look really good. Pitched 7 innings, 3 runs, 5 hits, no walks, 7 strikeouts. Valdez also looked good. Battle of the Aces, 2 runs, 4 hits, 3 walks, 6 strikeouts. Houston, though, as a stronghold of this series, they're 2-0. The next game is on Saturday in the afternoon against Seattle. Do they have an opportunity to come back and win 2 at home, try to push this thing to game 5, or do you think this series is kind of over at this point?
I think the series is over. Luis Castillo did pitch very well. He made 2 mistakes. One in the second inning to Tucker. Just a lefty poked it out, hooked it into the right field seats, not by a mile. It was a very pedestrian home run by, Astro standards. It was less than 400 feet. And then the mistake he made to Alvarez in the 6th inning was a mistake. It was a cookie. And Alvarez, that ball was a bullet. It was the other way into the Crawford boxes. It was an absolute rocket shot. And listen, the Seattle Mariners have been a real plucky story. It's been really entertaining. The game against Toronto where they were down 8-1 and a lot of excitement with a very young baseball team there in Seattle. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, let's be honest with ourselves. Let's have a therapy session here. Did we really think it wasn't going to be the Houston Astros in the ALCS?
No, they're basically the favorites to win the World Series, so no.
Exactly. As much as it was one man who kind of overcame some of the adversity Houston was facing, at some point when you play a baseball season, the length of the season eventually, the cream rises. And I think, what you saw in these first two games in Houston, the better team, even though they needed some heroics, won both games. And I'm not saying it's going to be a sweep. It might be a sweep. But I think it's fair to say that the right team, Houston, will advance to the ALCS. As much as I love the Seattle Storm, Houston's the better team. They deserve to be there.
I mean, they're up 2-0 in a series. It's really difficult to come back down 2 in a 5-game series. Yes. Enough said there. That game we played Saturday. We'll be talking about it on Saturday. We have a lot of college football this weekend, too, that we'll be getting into. Let's get into it today because there's 3 games. We'll actually save the Guardians-Yankees for the end of the show just because we talked about it yesterday. I know you're breaking it down for your best bet of the day. Let's get into the Braves taking on the Phillies. At this point, the Braves have not announced their starting pitcher. It could be Charlie Morton or it could be Spencer Strider, depending on whoever Brian Snitker thinks is ready to go. If Spencer Strider is healthy enough with his oblique injury that he's been dealing with, he's been so good against the Phillies all season long. He's held them to a .097 batting average this season, Jared. 4-0 against the Phillies this season. 3 runs allowed in 21 1/3 innings pitched. This is the Phillies' first home postseason game since October of 2011. It's been 11 years since then. And you look at their schedule, they've been wild. They went right from the regular season and stayed on the road. They've been in hotels for 18 straight nights, 5 different cities. Yeah. So we have Aaron Nola going up against the Braves. We know who's starting for the Phillies. He's pretty good in his last 2 starts of the season. 13 1/3 scoreless innings, 6 hits, 1 walk, 15 strikeouts. This is going to be a good matchup. I really, really, really want to see Spencer Strider play in this one. If he can't go, can Charlie Morton hold up against the Phillies and take the edge in this series right now, tied at 1-1?
I think it is Strider from what I'm seeing this morning.
It is 100% Strider now. Okay, 2 hours ago it was not.
About 20 minutes ago, it does seem like the decision was made based off of what I am viewing here.
Yeah, he's holding him to less than he's holding him to less than .100 batting average this season against the Phillies. So,
and no one is a bigger Spencer Strider fan than me, especially the Nerfy numbers. I think we bet more Strider Nerfies this year than maybe any other pitcher in baseball. He's the ultimate Nerfy pitcher. I'll be honest, though, as good as the numbers have been, this is a tough spot. On the road, first playoff start off an injury. Tough.
Yeah, he hasn't pitched since September 18th.
If he can overcome this against what's been a very good, hot Phillies lineup, if he can pitch well in this environment, again, on the road, your first playoff start, you haven't pitched in a major league game in almost a month. Arguably the most difficult scenario to put a rookie starting pitcher in. I can't think of a more difficult scenario. So if he can overcome this, I mean, physically he has all the tools to pitch well today. But the mental side of this, he's had now a few days of uncertainty. Am I going to start? Am I not going to start? You wake up today, you're named the starter. Now you have to get into your routine. It's a routine that, again, he's never been in before. He's never started or pitched in a postseason game. So I am curious to see how he handles the situation today.
But again, it is baseball. It's a sport that they've been playing their entire life. Baseball. He has his routine. Like, your routine doesn't change regular season to postseason. You still do the same routine. And I think with a guy like Spencer Strider, too, just covering the Braves and being, around the team in general, like, this guy does not overthink things. He goes out. He throws the heat.
This is very valuable information here, guys.
And he gets win. He punches out 10 to 12 guys a game. And then he's like, peace, did my job. I'm done. See you in 5 days. Like, this is not a guy that's overthinking things or in his head. And I think that this is going to be a spot where he's just really excited to get back in there after not pitching for a couple weeks. He just signed a massive contract, 6 years, $75 million. Like, this guy's probably going to be pumped up and ready to go. So we'll see. I'm excited. I'm obviously rooting for the Braves.
It's gonna be a great
game in the series right now.
Nola's been fantastic too.
The edge. Yeah. Nola's been really, really good. So it's a battle of 2 exceptionally strong pitchers. All right, last game. Let's take it out to the West Coast. The Padres take it on the Dodgers. It is in San Diego. This is going to be my best bet of the day, so I'm not going to break it down too much. But it's just wild to me how good Clayton Kershaw is during the regular season and how much he struggles in postseason. It really is incredible for how phenomenal of a pitcher he is, how he cannot get it done in the postseason. That series tied up 1-1 as well. The Padres were able to steal one in LA. Now they're back in San Diego at their home field. Blake Snell in the mound in San Diego, going up against Tony Gonsolin, who's one of the hottest pitchers in Major League Baseball all season long. Your expectations for this game, because the Dodgers right now, short money line favorite.
So full disclosure, I am betting the Nerfy in this game. Gonsolin is 22-2 to the Nerfy this year. That is 91% hit rate. And his numbers have been very good in the first inning. His whip is under 1, batting average under 200. And Blake Snell, that's the part that I'm a little concerned with here, because he can be very volatile. But his Nerfy numbers have been good. 21-3. That's 87.5%. 13-2 at home this year. So again, the Nerfy rates of these two teams, I'm looking at the highest implied Nerfy rate of the day in terms of how it reflects on the odds. So I think this is a good Nerfy bet. I got in at -130. You can find that price pretty readily available in the market. Other than that, I do think, to me, the Dodgers are going to win this series. So you would think game 3 tied at 1. This is the key game. This game will likely determine who wins the series. So I think you have to approach it that way. Let's look at what the splits are. I actually, the splits today, most of the money, most of the handle you would expect on the Dodgers. The only game that's really in the balance in terms of the money and the handle is the Braves-Phillies game. I think it's because the starting pitcher uncertainty, the public doesn't really know where to put their
now that we know the Strider's pitching, I was going to say get the Braves money line while you can, because of how good
you're going to get some Braves money probably now that Strider's pitching. I do agree with that. But I don't really have a feel for the side in this specific game. I think the Dodgers will likely play better than they did in game 2. And I think the home field for me doesn't impact this at all. I think it's just which starter and which bullpen handles their business better. And I think Blake Snell, little more volatility there than with Gonsolin, who's been fantastic this year.
And I'll get into that with my best bet of the day, because it may or may not be kind of trending how Jared was just talking about it, but you got to wait till the end of the show for that one. All right, let's get into some NFL Week 6. I know we talked about Thursday Night Football. Obviously not the game that we wanted to see, it was the game we were expecting between the Bears and the Commanders, but maybe we wanted to see a little bit more excitement other than the end of the fourth quarter. But we're going to get a lot of excitement this weekend in the Week 6 slate. Let's bring in Howard Bender to talk some of his bets heading into the weekend. Head of content for Fantasy Alarm. You can find him at Twitter at RotoBuzzGuy. HB, how are you? Happy Friday.
Happy Friday, guys. Been a little while since I've seen you. I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me. That Thursday night game. Wow. I just woke up from the coma. It was brutal.
That was brutal.
Everyone's hating on it.
Last week was better.
Beauty's in the eye of the beholder, Howard. I thought it was beautiful in its own way.
Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, but ugly runs right down to the bone, my friend. And that game was ugly.
I wouldn't know about that line. Great. Sorry, Howard. Look at me. Come on. I wouldn't know about that.
That is the moneymaker for you. I get that. This, not so much, but that's all right. That's why I make decent picks.
Oh, stop it. Why are you wearing a hat? What happened to the hair?
We do.
But I think I've scrubbed myself almost bald up top, trying to get rid of that green hair, which I have, and I feel good about it. Thank you. Laura, you missed that one, eh? Oh, I'm sorry.
I did. I know, I did. Honestly, I was really devastated about it, but I'm glad that you're back and better than ever, sans green hair. So, okay, let's get into Week 6. They say beauty is in the eye of the beholder. I'm seeing some beautiful games on the slate heading into this week. Let's start it off with Seattle taking on Arizona. You're looking at the total for this game. Why are you leaning the over?
I mean, have we seen Seattle's defense over the last, I don't know, for the first 5 games of the season? I mean, they've just been absolutely atrocious. And, listen, I'll give massive credit to Geno Smith, Pete Carroll's system, everything that they're putting together there offensively. But defensively, that is hot, stinking trash. Yeah. So Listen, I have no problem with it being a track meet. I have no dog in this race. I don't care who wins the game at all. I just know that I got it for 51 when it opened up earlier in the week, and I locked into that because I think that Geno Smith, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, now Kenneth Walker is their running back. Kyler Murray, Marquise Hollywood Brown, Rondell Moore was nice and surprising, and let's not sleep on Eno Benjamin, very versatile back who gives them an added dimension that maybe James Conner doesn't always give them. So I like the track meet. Give me the over.
Tough to look at the Rams right now as a double-digit favorite, but that's the case. The PJ Walker move for me, based off of what I heard, Howard, was about a 1-point move on the line. We saw the Rams right around 9.5, and now we're seeing it about 10.5. Do you think that's a fair move? And do you think Walker – I talked to one bookmaker who said Walker might be an upgrade over Baker Mayfield based on what we see. Talk about how you assess that quarterback switch in Carolina and why the Panthers might be a decent bet this week.
This actually, it opened up at 10, then it went up to 10.5, then it went up to 11, then it went back down to 10.5, and it kind of crept. It's rocked in that area. Teams who fire their coach in season, the first game back. I used to track that a lot more. I guess 2-3 years ago when we started seeing more firings in season, it started to level out a little bit more, but more often than not, and this was going back a little bit, about 60% of the time, teams were either winning outright or covering the spread for their first game. Matt Rule lost this locker room. He lost it completely. The players had no respect for him, and that's something that we see a lot of with college coaches coming to the NFL. You can't push an NFL player around like you do a college kid. You can't, the threats that you make to a college kid ring a lot more serious than they do to an NFL player. So when he loses the locker room, the first game back, the players are amped up. Steve Wilkes, very liked actually in the Carolina organization. So I do think that he's actually going to help these guys rally. I don't care if they win or not, but this one easily smells like a backdoor cover. I have it at 10.5. So I also love having that extra hook in there. And that's the way I'm going to lay it. I didn't really break down the PJ Walker versus Baker Mayfield. Listen, Baker Mayfield sucks at football. He's fantastic in the commercials. I love the progressive commercials. They can be quite entertaining, but you put that guy on the field. I mean, come on. When somebody starts getting excited about Sam Darnold coming back to practice next week, you know that this team is just really ready to move on from Baker. Even Pete Carroll. Do you guys see the comments from Pete Carroll? He was like, Drew Lock is nipping at the heels of Geno Smith in practice. If that doesn't say, hey, Carolina, hey, Miami, come give us draft picks and we'll give you Baker Mayfield. Drew Lock, we'll do that. You guys need to replace your quarterback, so take him from us. We'll be fine with Geno.
Yeah, it's going to be really – well, first of all, Geno Smith is looking really good this season. Again, so happy for him reviving his career, but that Seahawks defense is not helping him out at all. A defense that is helping out their quarterback, though, is the Buffalo Bills, who are heading into Arrowhead Stadium this weekend to take on the Kansas City Chiefs. It's a game that all of us have had circled on our calendars since the beginning of the season. And this is, correct me if I'm wrong, like one of the only times that Patrick Mahomes has been an underdog at home, or maybe the only time that Patrick Mahomes has been an underdog at home. This is going to be the battle of two phenomenal quarterbacks. You think Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills come out on top?
I do, actually, and I'm going to lay the 3 points in this game, and I know that might not be what everybody loves seeing, but if Jordan Poyer is back, if Tremaine Edwards is right there up the middle, the two of them are questionable for this game. I do think that both of them end up playing. That's a big deal. This Buffalo defense is not a push-around defense. You saw them pushing, the Raiders pushed around Kansas City early in the game. They didn't have the defense to really hold off Patrick Mahomes, who, let's face it, does not look like he's on the same page with Juju Smith-Schuster. He does not look like he's on the same page with Mecole Hardman. They're definitely having some troubles there, balancing things out. Travis Kelce, fantastic. I don't think this is all about the loss of Tyreek Hill. I just think that this is about Patrick Mahomes trying to change a little bit more of his style instead of locking on to one guy. Red zone Kelce, yes, fine, that's great. But between the 20s, he's definitely looking around. He's trying to adjust things because they saw what bracket coverage did to his game last year when people took Tyreek Hill out of the mess. Buffalo's defense, I think, holds up this week against them. I'm not saying that this isn't going to be a little bit of a track meet, but I definitely think that Buffalo wins this game and that it is by more than a field goal.
Patrick Mahomes is 7-0-1 as an underdog in his career, but never at home. He's never been a home underdog.
That's what I thought. This is the first time he's an underdog at home at Arrowhead. Yeah.
But he, as an underdog, period, he's done very well. Just always away from home. Interesting spot for Cincinnati this week. You still have some injury issues with the Saints offense, especially Olave and Michael Thomas, and of course Jameis Winston. I don't know if the quarterback position matters as much. I think they might be better off with Dalton and Hill as kind of like the tag team there. But you think the Bengals go into the Bayou this week and get a win? Tell me why.
I do, and I'll lay the 2 points for that. This is the first game back in the Superdome for Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase.
Oh yeah,
the magic is real. It is real. Listen,
real baby.
Cincinnati's dealing with a couple of injuries on defense, which is a little bit troubling. But like you just said, Jared, the offense for New Orleans is just getting peppered with injuries. I mean, you're looking at Marquez Callaway and Traquan Smith possibly being the top 2 guys. It's not a good look. I think that the Saints came out and looked great last week against Seattle, but I'm not going to say that that's going to carry over to this week. Cincinnati, if you look at what their offense has done, first 2 weeks of the season, it was the ultimate Super Bowl hangover for a team that didn't even win the Super Bowl. And they came out completely sluggish and just completely awful. The last 3 games, they've actually put together a lot better of a plan, even without T. Higgins last week, who they said could have come in, but they opted to keep him nice and protected. So I think you've got great weapons with or without T. Higgins. You've got Jamar Chase. You've got Hayden Hurst. You've got Tyler Boyd. Maybe even Mike Thomas starts to stretch the field a little bit more. I love me some Joe Mixon. So I just think that what we've got here right now with Cincinnati, now that they've gotten themselves on track for the season, I think they can beat the Saints. I think it'll be a close game because I'm not going to sleep on the Saints defense, but I think they're going to end up trying to do Marshawn Lattimore versus Jamar Chase, and that is not going to work out well for Lattimore.
Let's take it up to Cleveland/Believe Land. The Browns are taking on the New England Patriots. You think Jacoby Brissett is going to lead this Browns team to a victory and they're going to cover the spread while they're doing it?
They are doing it. I see the Brownie the Elf shirt going there, Jared. I know that you're all in on that. Come on. Right there.
This is a nerfy nymph. What are you talking about, Howard? This is my nerfy nymph.
The nerfy nymph? I saw him in Cleveland. I don't know. Yeah, listen, last week, and I'll tell you what, and I'll apologize to the Pickswise people, because sometime around like Friday, I kept looking at my write-up for the Lions-Patriots game, and I was like, man, Bill Belichick, Dan Campbell, Jared Goff. Maybe I'm not, maybe I'm underestimating a little bit here on the Pats D. This week here, it's the Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt show. I love these two going up against the run defense for the New England Patriots that does struggle, to stop the run. You've got much more firepower here. And let's face it, I think Kevin Stefanski is a more cerebral coach than Dan Campbell is. I like what's going on in Detroit. I love what's happening for your Lions. I really do. But, listen, it was Bill Belichick going up against Jared Goff and taking care of that. I do worry a little bit that Bill Belichick might have implanted some sort of microchip into the brain of Jacoby Brissett back when they were working together. And maybe he does have like a little bit of an insight into Jacoby's mind, but I really think that this is a ground game, slug it out, kind of a throwback game, a little bit kind of what we thought we were going to see with what was it? It was Green Bay against New England, right?
The Giants
Giants. Yes. I thought that was what we were looking at, but I think that the ground game here for Cleveland is too much. They do have it's not a great passing game, but it's a decent enough game. I think that they can kind of keep the balance going. Another close one here, but I'll take the edge and go with the field goal.
I like it. I really do. Howard Bender, HB, up in this beat. We loved having you on the show. Thank you for your week 6 picks. I'm sure we'll be talking to you more and more in the future as we get deeper into the NFL and MLB postseason playoffs. Thanks so much for coming on. Have a great weekend.
Thanks for having me, guys. Always a pleasure.
Love you, bud.
HB in the B. You can find him at Rotobuzz Guy on Twitter. He's the head of content for Fantasy Alarm. Let's take it from men to boys, Jared, because we got a really good college football week 7 slate going on. 6 games between top 25 teams, the most in a single day in the regular season in the last 5 years. I am so excited.
I didn't know that.
Isn't that crazy? I'm so excited for this game. I'm so excited for this. One of the best games that I'm looking forward to, other than Penn State and Michigan, which we'll get into in a second, because I know that we have a swag bet going on. Alabama going into Tennessee, taking on the Vols. This is a lot of points at 7 for Alabama to be laying in a really good matchup. So for me, I'm leaning the Vols +7. This is a really good spot that Tennessee is in to be able to knock the Crimson Tide off the top. Hendon Hooker has been playing phenomenal. He's helped their offense to get to number 1 in college football and number 2 in offensive scoring. And it's also a question of, is Bryce Young going to be playing this week? Do we know 100%? I don't know. And if he does play, is he going to be at 100%? I think that Bama wins this game, but I think Tennessee keeps it close. And so I like taking them here at 7 points. How do you feel about it?
Totally agree. I got 7 and a hook earlier in the week.
Wow.
It opened
a little bigger,
8.
a little better.
Got a little hook. Captain Hook, as my friend Brad Evans would say. I love that.
Captain
Stealing
Nick.
that line from him today. So when this line opened at 8, we saw immediate sharp money come in that pushed it down to 7.5 on Tennessee. And my thinking was, first of all, again, we're at the point in the year now where we have some data. Not only, ratings wise, we have 6 weeks worth of data, but also analytics wise. The more games you play, the more data we have. So based on what I'm seeing with some of the ratings that I trust, there's like 3 or 4 rating systems out there that are all publicly available that have done pretty well against the spread this year, over 60%. So what I tend to do on a week by week basis is I compile those and I try to, sift through where there might be some value. Well, one of the rating systems that's doing really well this year has this game pegged at around 3.5. So I do think there's some value on Tennessee. And again, once you get beneath that key number of 7, the difference between 5 or 6 and 3.5, not huge. 7.5, now that it's 7, I think there's less value on Tennessee. But I do think there's an opportunity here for the Vols, and you nailed it. The Bryce Young uncertainty is where there's wiggle room in this market. I think it's very hard for us right now to know for sure how healthy he is. But I did a segment last night with Sean King, former NFL quarterback, Super Bowl champion, and he specifically said this injury, the AC joint sprain, typically 2 weeks until you feel like you can play again. And it's been 2 weeks. But really more like 4 to 6 in terms of 100%. And once 100%. You get hit, it has a tendency to re-aggravate itself. Pain tolerance might be an issue here. And listen, Tennessee, their defense isn't great, but they're going to put a lot of pressure on Bryce Young, and they are going to make him get the ball out quick and get hits on him quick to make him feel that shoulder sprain. I think Bryce will play at less than 100%. I think this line will close at 7, maybe 6.5. If it goes to 6.5, I'm probably going to come back on Alabama and hope the game lands 7. But I do think at 7 or 7.5, if you can find one, this is a decent bet on Tennessee. They've got to exercise some serious Crimson Tide demons. They have been brutalized in this series. Bama has absolutely owned this series. Nick Saban, 11-4 against the number, 5-1 in the last 6. But this is the first time the spread has been in single digits since 2007. So that tells you how the market feels about this game. I think this is other than obviously Penn State, Michigan, personal reasons why we're very excited about that game. I'm very, very fascinated to see how the Tennessee offense fares against the Alabama defense. That is best on best. Top 10 units. Toe for toe, blow for blow. That's going to be the most fascinating matchup of the week for me. And then, of course, if Bryce Young is healthy, how does he perform, and how does this really bad Tennessee defense try to slow him down and make him feel that shoulder injury?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you too. And it's honestly like if a guy's out there not 100%, you don't think he's going to be 100% at his best. Also, if you like Hendon Hooker to win the Heisman Trophy, this is the time to bet him, because if Tennessee does beat Alabama, his odds are going to freaking skyrocket. I got him at 60 to 1 at the beginning of the season. He's now like the fourth favorite at this point at 20 to 1. Yeah. Now the fourth favorite at 20 to 1.
Look at you, hair flip. Get it. The market.
But
the
the thing is, he needs to beat Alabama or he needs to beat Georgia. Like, he needs to be one of those top 2 teams. This could be the spot for Tennessee to be able to sneak in and do it with not 100% Bryce Young, whether he plays. And if he doesn't play, I think that they're going to win this game outright.
If the season ends today, he's a Heisman finalist, I think. If the season ends today, he's on the podium. We'll see who else is there, but I think he deserves to be there.
Totally. One other game I want to touch on really quickly before we get into that Penn State-Michigan game is USC taking on Utah. USC is the underdog in this game. I know they're playing at Utah Utes. I like USC's money line in this spot. UCLA exposed Utah's secondary last week, and we saw how USC can be able to take advantage of them. The Utes are an extremely, extremely physical team. They have a lot of talent on their team. They can test USC's defense, but UCLA showed me that Utah's secondary can be exposed. And I trust USC's receivers and quarterback in this spot. I think it's going to be a close game, but I think USC can sneak out an edge. If you don't trust them to get the win completely, I would take them getting 3.5 points. How do you feel about this game? Who comes out on top of this one?
So I've been on the Utah bandwagon basically all year. I definitely, sobering reality on Saturday, because they got pushed around by UCLA in that game. And that's something that I didn't. Yeah, they got pushed around. Your old boy, Zach Charbonnet, your old Michigan boy, now at UCLA, had a really good game running the football. And that's the big issue for me with this Utah defense. They're 68th in EPA per rush. This is a Utah defense that was a top 20 rush defense last year, and no real changes to their scheme. But we're starting to see some holes. They lost Devin Lloyd, who's in the NFL. They lost a couple of other pieces on their defense. Their secondary is still playing at a high level. Clark Phillips is maybe the best corner in the country, highest recruited secondary piece in the history of the Utah program. But their front seven has been pushed around. And I talked about this last week. The defensive coordinator, Scally, has started putting a 5th down lineman at the line of scrimmage to try to, be a little more buttoned up defensively against the run. It didn't work. UCLA just ran right through them. The reason why that's an issue, as much as we talk about Caleb Williams and Mario Williams and Jordan Addison, who's a little banged up this week, keep an eye on his status. The running game for USC with Travis Dye, who's got 4 100-yard games, is a problem. And USC's offensive line is playing like a unit, top 5 in adjusted line yards. They're playing more like Utah than Utah is, more physical. So at least on the offensive side of the ball. Now, how does the USC defense, which really, if you look at the USC schedule of offenses that they faced, not a ton of girth there. Stanford, Fresno State without their starting quarterback, Oregon State, who's been pedestrian, Arizona State's been all over the place, Washington State, not a ton of talent there. I think this will be the best offense USC has faced this year. How does the defense, which has been pushed around a little bit at times, handle altitude against a good quarterback, maybe one of the more mobile quarterbacks, maybe one of the more clutch quarterbacks in Cameron Rising, who's got fantastic numbers this year. I love this matchup. I agree. I think 3 in the hook, I would take USC. I kind of think Utah, and the market's telling me Utah is going to win this game. An undefeated team that is an underdog against a 2-loss team historically has not done well against the spread or straight up.
Yeah.
Usually the team that is favored in this matchup, undefeated underdog against a 2-loss team. Usually the 2-loss team that's the favorite is a favorite for a reason. So the market's telling me one thing, but my eyes with USC and Utah
are
telling me something different. Very difficult game to handicap. It really is. I'm not betting this one. I hope Utah wins because I have a future on them and a win total on them, but I'm concerned from what I've seen with Utah over the last few weeks, no doubt.
Yeah. Okay, the last game, the game that we've all been waiting for. The game that you and I have had circled on our calendars since week 1. Penn State going on into Ann Arbor to take on the Michigan Wolverines. And honestly, my actual bet for this game, I'm betting the under. And you're like, ugh, why? Why are you betting the under? The under isn't fun. Both teams are going to run the ball a ton. Blake Corum for Michigan, Nick Singleton, Katron Allen for Penn State. The clock's going to be running. Penn State is known for defending the rush. Both teams are going to want to control the pace of this game. I like the under for my actual bet of the game. But now let's get into the fun part, the swag bet part. Are we betting the spread or are we betting the money line when it comes to our swag bet between the two of us? Whichever team loses, the other one has to wear the other team's gear for at least one show next week.
It's a good question because the spread is at a point where it wouldn't be fair just to do one punishment for a money line play. So listen, I am willing to bet the money line with you on this game and have a head-to-head just on who wins the game. But I think you have to give me a little more. You got to give me a little more cheddar cheese on your.
I think then we do the spread because there's no way I want to wear Penn State gear on 2 straight freaking shows. So we'll do the spread. I'll give you the points. I'll give you the.
You're talking to someone who wore an Ohio shirt on a show once too, by the way.
I know.
I have been. You have humiliated me in these swag bets. I think you're undefeated.
By saying I have won every single swag bet against Jared so far this season. So I will give. Yeah. Jared, I'll give you.
And last season.
I'll give you the 7.
And last season.
I'm like 5-0. Straight up. 5-0 straight up in the swag bets. I will give you the 7 points in this game. I'll give you the touchdown. Okay.
I'll take the touchdown.
And whichever team wins, if Michigan covers the 7 or if Penn State covers the 7, the other person has to wear the swag. We feel good about it?
I have my Michigan shirt from last year. It's a schmedium. It's tight, but it's in my closet. I haven't treated it like the Ohio shirt, which I will never wear again. Never again. And we will buy you one of those adorable Nittany Lion caps with the little braids and the little ears. You look like a little Disney princess.
I'll do it.
It's a cute hat. I bought one for my sister back in the day when I went there.
If you guys cover the spread in this game, I deserve to be wearing that Nittany Lion hat.
Okay.
A spread that we're betting straight up. Before we get into our best bets of the day, Gerard, we got week 7 college football, week 6 NFL, but we're both betting Major League Baseball today because we got postseason action. Let's bet it, though. Presented by Superbook Sports, the best place to bet football all season long. Download the Superbook app or visit superbook.com right now, and they're going to match your first bet up to $1,000, whether it wins or whether it loses. Plus, they already have lines up for every NFL game for the rest of the season. It's the #1 voted sportsbook in Vegas, now available in the palm of your hand. Make sure to visit superbook.com to join right now. We got superbook.com and then pickswise.com for our 3-star play of the day. Gerard, who do we got today?
Shout out Mark Zinno chiming in. He likes your under in that Penn State Michigan game. He's also got a bet on USC and Utah. Sam Abalone is Maryland, Indiana. Michael Petty, California. That's all college football tomorrow. If you are interested in tonight, our hockey pundits are back. Chadwick Wetzel, Sharks, Canes total. Mark Lammy, Habs, Wings, money line. I won't give away the farm. You have to go to Pickswise.com to find out where our hockey experts are putting their dollars tonight.
I'll absolutely love it. All right, Pickswise.com, 3-star play of the day right here. Our best bets of the day, getting them from Superbook Sports, the odds. Jared, tell me about your Yankees pick again, because you did it yesterday. So give me a nice overview today.
We are going back to the well. The market has moved a little bit towards the Yankees today. And also, be sure to check your apps. For example, at Superbook, they have a 24-hour rule when it comes to these games. So my Yankees bet from yesterday at -134, because it is being played less than 24 hours from the time of yesterday's game. Yesterday was a night game. Today is a day game. My bet on the Superbook app is still live at -134. That, again, you might not have that same situation. The market's moved about 10 cents towards the Yankees, -145-ish, depending on where you do your shopping. So, again, not a significant move that would take me off of this bet. but check your house rules, check your app. Your bet from yesterday might actually still be alive. But either way, we're going back to the well with the Yankees today. And the handicap is very strong here. I really think, and I don't bet a ton of money lines. Like literally, I'm looking at my sheet right now from the season. This will be the 11th money line bet of the entire baseball season for me. I have not bet a lot of it. And I think when you look at this Yankees team, to me, I don't really like the Guardians offense against lefties. They're one of the worst hitting teams against lefties this season. And Shane Bieber, on the other side, has kind of tailed off a little bit. We've seen more pitching to contact this year, less strikeouts. So I like, to me, the Yankees offense really doesn't hit as well against power pitchers that strike out a lot of guys. Well, that's not Shane Bieber's game anymore. Strikeouts per 9 decreased dramatically this year. And Nestor Cortez, I think you can make a case that he's the ace of the Yankees staff this season. The numbers certainly reflect that. So at home, short price, the Yankees are about a 65% win rate. Home postseason games, that's about minus 175. We're only laying minus 134, minus 140 here. Mm-hmm. I think this is a good spot to jump on the Yankees to take a 2-0 series lead at home. Day game, matinee, get it in now. Yanks money line. We're going for our 6th straight win and 10 of our last 11 plays of the day. Let's go, baby. Let's stay hot.
Let's go. I'm also taking a short money line favorite in the Dodgers, minus 122. So I'm only laying 22 cents for it. The Padres, they're back in it after hitting Clayton Kershaw and his maybe lackluster streak in the postseason. But today, they're back in San Diego. Blake Snell is on the mound for San Diego going up against Tony Gonsolin. And needless to say, more Tony Gonsolin. Snell worries me a little bit. He struggled against the Mets in the wild card series. Also against the Dodgers this season. In his 3 starts against them, he's only gotten through 5 innings, 4 innings, and 5 innings, respectively, in his 3 starts. Now you look at Tony Gonsolin, gone 16-1 on the season. The team is 19-5 in his 25 starts, and he's played the Padres twice. In those 2 games, he's allowed 7 hits, 1 earned run, and 12 2/3 innings pitched. Last time I checked, that's really good. I love the Padres fight in game 2, but this money line price is way too short for me with a guy like Gonsolin on the mound. Give me the Dodgers, taking advantage of this series. I think they're going to end up winning this series. They need to take that 2-1 lead in this game. Laying 22 cents for it. Make sure to check it out. All right, guys, that's it for us today. Find us on the Pickswise YouTube channel. Go to pickswise.com. Follow us on Twitter. Gerard Smith, Laurent Jabara. We'll see you guys tomorrow for Week 7 college football. Until then, let's get it. Let's bet it.